I've got so many blogs, but they're all in my head. I just need to get going with writing them, actually.
Hey, mate, you do a podcast now. You can excuse yourself from all those things. Welcome to GCP Life, episode number 69 for Friday, the 19th of July, 2024. GCP Life is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, what is Google buying now? How much power does cloud really consume? We take a look at a bunch of new Google Cloud features, plus who was breached now in the AI wars. But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Adish Panta. How are you, Adish?
Hey, Banky, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, mate. Good. And you are recording remotely today.
Correct. I am recording from Hobart, so apologize for the slightly worse sound quality. Got my AirPod Max on me, but I don't know how good this quality is going to come out. So fingers crossed. This is still somewhat bearable, but
I think it'll be usable somewhat. Yeah, it'll be usable. I can do some studio magic on it anyway.
Yeah. No. This is all the AirPods Max. Come on, Becky. You're not going to have to do anything.
I don't know about that so much. So what? How did you find yourself in Hobart today?
Yeah. So I do quite a few talks in our GDG communities. So GDG Hobart invited me over to just do a talk on things in Google Cloud. So I thought, what better way to talk about Google Cloud than talk about Cloud Run and serverless, and talk some of our use cases that we've done in the past in our projects.
Yeah, right. So talking about serverless, I mean, that's a hot topic at the moment. We had the guys from the AWS guys that we linked to last week. Their talk was on serverless as well. Yeah,
I mean, not as hot as Gen AI and AI in general, but I'd say the next hottest topic after Gen AI, I'd say, especially with so many Gen AI use cases coming, developer velocity becomes even more important, right? So I was just talking about how you can really go from zero to as close to 100 as you can with serverless in a very short period of time.
That is a big advantage of it, isn't it? Save your bickies, save your bucks that way.
Yeah. And a lot of cloud providers also have very, very generous free tiers for serverless offerings. So things like Cloud Functions and Cloud Run have 2 million requests per month that are free. So you can actually build a pretty substantial personal project to learn these things for no cost.
Yep. And this is one of the things, like time and time again, we keep covering stories of people saying, cloud's too expensive. You don't use cloud. We move to cloud and then we're going to move back because it was too expensive. But we see that that's the case because they're just not doing it right. If you just lift up your workload and run it on a straight-up VM, that's just what's going to happen. It's going to cost you an arm and leg. But if you're using a feature like serverless and microservice the correct way, you should end up in a better position, right? Cost-wise.
100%. If you know how to optimize cloud, you can save a lot of time and money. But if you don't have those controls, that's when the cloud costs go crazy, right? So if you, one, know what your workloads are, and then two, know how to optimize your infrastructure around those use cases of your workloads, that's when you get the best value out of cloud. And so yes, a lot of management is taken away from you when you go to cloud, especially when you use serverless, but also a lot of planning. You also need to plan a lot, right? So, for example, even in cloud,
a lot of the headache goes away with it.
A lot of the headache goes away, but you still have other headaches of how do I optimize it, right? Like Cloud Run, you can configure in 100 different ways. You can have different compute sizes. You can have always running Cloud Run instances. So what's the best case? Sorry, what's the best use case for your workload? That's what you got to know to optimize costs. And that's what my talk was about.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah, absolutely. That's really getting to the crux of what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you're in Hobart, would you talk last night or is it tonight?
It was last night.
It was last night. Well, if you were lucky enough to be in Hobart and see a dish talk, then you'd be one of the few. We will. We'll always keep you up to date. In fact, coming up in community news, we do have a few more events coming up, so we'll keep you up to date with those things as they come along. Well, that sounds like your tech adventure, but my tech adventures, the Kate's cluster at the moment is going nowhere. I'm still stuck in that NFS problem. I'm going to have to put discs in them, I think. I've got two 120 SSDs here. I have to get another one, just pull one out of an old laptop or something and put them in there. I think that's the way I'm going to have to go, but I've kind of shelved it for the minute. So I'm just throwing my hands in the air. But outside of that, I've been playing with a bit of VMware stuff, built myself a single node cluster and reinstalled a bunch of stuff on there, just trying to get Horizon VDI working on there as well. It's a little bit tricky. You kind of set up a gateway server and then a connection server, and then it just spins up a virtual desktop. I just wanted to get a bit more familiar with how that worked. That seems to be coming along okay. And while I was hunting around actually for some VMware stuff, I came across Services Australia. Now, Services Australia used to be Department of Human Resources, but I think Victor Dominello got involved there and they renamed it to Services Australia. They just forked out $94 million in VMware licensing.
How much did you say was it?
12 months.
How many $million?
$94 million. That's your hard-earned tax money there going to work into the pockets of Broadcom.
Oh, that is an expensive bill. It is 20% more than the previous contract. So that is a pretty big jump. And why is this jump, Anki? What's the cause of this jump in pricing?
Because Broadcom, who purchased VMware recently, have changed the licensing model to a per-core license. Now, some of these VMware estates are huge, 50, 60 nodes and like hundreds, if not like 1,000 cores of CPU. And it's a per-core license now. The time was probably coming. Like I'm working with these companies that have got these GCVE environments, and they've just ballooned. They've really ballooned. 1,000 VMs or 2,000 VDI desktops. Not unusual, right? Just we need to do something else. We'll just spin up another VM or spin up, and it just kind of gets out of control. Quietly, I'm quite glad this has kind of happened because it's a bit of a sense check, right? It's just going to force everyone to like wind it back a notch. Oh, we can't have that many VMs running all the time, right? So what's happened because of this sudden change in licensing, and we've discussed this on the show 6 months ago or so when it happened, just as a quick refresher, we've got everybody scrambling to get off on-prem VMware estates, and they're moving to hyperscaler solutions like GCVE. That's done in Google Cloud. And Azure have their own version as well. Interestingly, AWS did have VMware on AWS. Their support model was completely different, and they would defer the support back to VMware, whereas Azure and Google, if you need VMware support, you will get it directly from that provider, right? As a result, AWS couldn't maintain that support model, and they've dropped VMware on AWS as of, I think it was the 30th of April now. So you can't get VMware on AWS anymore, but GCVE on Google and Azure's product, the name eludes me at the moment, but they have an equivalent product. I like to say that Google's offering is far and beyond the best one. The entire thing now can be done with infrastructure as code. The API is all available. The networking is really simple to implement and easy to use. They have full offering of full stretch clustering and many different node types as well. So I don't know if I can let the cat out of the bag on this one, but there are some very, very, very competitive node types coming up that allow you to have extra memory and different CPU and disk configurations. That's going to be a real, a real goal kick when that one comes out. But I'll keep that one to myself for the moment. You didn't hear it here. This is what's causing everyone to get off it, right?
So why is there a licensing price increase from Broadcom, though? Is it to encourage their customers to do that shift to the cloud providers? Is that the main driver for these licensing increases, or is it just getting more expensive for them to manage as well? No.
Look, the speculation is at the moment, and Broadcom haven't actually come out and said anything, but the speculation is that Broadcom don't want to deal with small fry licenses, right? They don't want to have to have millions of little licenses with like tiny little states all over here and there and everywhere. Broadcom are a chip manufacturer. They're used to dealing with enterprise, right? B2B kind of stuff. So if they can have a third party like a hyperscaler look after all that for them, then that's what they want to do. They want to get it off. And then, there might be some, this is just hearsay and my speculation as well. I'm assuming that Google are making some deal with Broadcom to get bulk discounting on the licenses. That would make complete sense that that's what's going on. And the more that Google onboards VMware users, the better it's going to be for everyone, right?
Yeah, it's probably a win-win for everyone involved. Google gets a win, Broadcom gets a win, and the customers are off-prem and into a pathway to the new world.
Yeah, it's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. It's a stepping stone into your serverless space, into modernization. You're right next door to all the cloud services. Very easy to use. The only challenge is you've got to get it out of on-prem and into that thing, and that is complicated, right? And that's what I'm facing at the moment. Mantle Group are looking at several possibilities for big projects coming up, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. It's
no child's play, right? Going from on-prem to cloud.
Not at all. Nope. All right, then. I think that's enough of the banter. How about we get on with the community news?
Absolutely. So we've got a couple of community events coming up in the next fortnight. One event is Google I/O Extended in Canberra. So I think Canberra doesn't run a Google GDG meetup every month, but there's a meetup every quarter. So a familiar name as one of our speakers in this event, Ian Brown, who will be talking about Slack chatbots using Gemini AI. Be an interesting chat there. And Katie Barnett will be talking about taking Jetpack Compose animations to the next level. So varied talks, one more about cloud and Gen AI, the other one more about front-end development and more developer-focused talk. So very different talks. There's also another GDG meetup, monthly meetup, on the 31st of July in Melbourne, which will be hosted at the Mantle Group offices. Not all the talks have been released, but there is a talk and panel discussion on Espresso UI testing. I've got no idea what that is, but I'm sure some of our listeners have interest in that.
All right, sounds tasty.
Yeah. It might keep you awake.
It might keep you awake. Yeah, have good coffee. All right, they sound fantastic. Links to those will be in the show notes. All right, let's kick off the rest of the news items. And first news item for this week, and this has kind of been everywhere, Google in advanced talks to acquire cyber startup Wiz for $23 billion, its largest ever deal. So the takeaways from this: Google's in advanced talks to acquire cybersecurity Wiz $23 billion. A cloud deal could come soon. If complete, it would be Google's largest ever acquisition.
Yeah, it's a very big news. I will add the caveat that it hasn't been confirmed by either Wiz or Google. I'm assuming nothing can be, declared until it's done in these big deals. So nothing has been officially confirmed. But if it does go through, yes, it would be, to my knowledge, one of the biggest acquisitions in tech. I believe Splunk was acquired by Cisco for $20 million or thereabouts. So this is bigger than that, right? For those of you, unfamiliar of what Wiz is, it's a cloud security tool that offers executives and cybersecurity professionals insight into a company's full cloud presence, which is very appealing for larger firms with lots and lots of computing resources across the different clouds in their environments.
Yeah, lots of endpoints. Yeah. They want to monitor all those endpoints, right?
Correct.
Yeah. But you're right. There are a few caveats to this. Obviously, they face an unprecedented level of scrutiny. Just take a quote from the article here. The Justice Department has sued Google twice on antitrust grounds in the past. That's because their acquisition practices were highlighted in the most recent litigation filed in 2023. So, yeah, it's got to be approved and signed off and ticked off. And this article also does say, to follow up on you were saying, that Mandiant deal, that was $5.4 billion 2 years ago. So, yeah, this one at 63 or 23 billion rather would be Google's largest one.
Yeah, and to your point, Banky, it does really shore up Google's security offering as well, especially with Mandiant, which has been rebranded to Chronicle. I can imagine maybe Wiz goes into this Chronicle product eventually. Again, just speculating. Maybe it'll just become a combined offering eventually is what I feel like. I'll just have one security monitoring tool rather than have Wiz and Chronicle. Yeah. So, interesting times ahead.
Yeah, that's absolutely been their pattern. I agree that they would merge it into what they've got there, and it just become part of the Google Cloud Suite.
But equally, I wouldn't be surprised if they named this product something completely different in true Google fashion.
It wouldn't be a true Google product until they killed it off.
Yeah.
Then it could go on the list. All right, one to watch out for, and we'll certainly keep you abreast of what's going on there. Look, moving on with a couple of Google Cloud features. These are off the Google Cloud blog. We went and had a little bit of a look there. Every fortnight edition, I have to scrounge the internet to get these articles. No, we always try and bring you the latest. This is talking about the Z3s. Now, the Z3 family of virtual machines, they came out they were previewed back in like April. But a blog article posted on 10th of July talks about some actual testing that was done against the performance of the Z3 virtual machine series. This testing basically found out it was 2 times the price performance, so you're getting double your bang for your buck, and 10 times the throughput. Now, we don't have to go into all the details, but the testing does break down exactly what they did to check the IOPS and the CPU and all the hardware goodness. But if you want to get some good performance, then the Z3s look like the way to go.
Yeah, just reading through this article, the test was done by a third-party partner called Isima, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
That's how you pronounce it. Who is a Google partner. So they have done the testings for the Z3 VMs, and as we link this article in the show notes, you can see the different levels of testing and the results. But to summarize, lots of good stuff, fast CPUs, big win, yay.
Yeah. Now, do they go into saying what the recommended workloads on these Z3s are? Are they storage optimized, aren't they? Yeah, I think that's really what they're all about. They're all about storage optimized to get the throughput, the IOPS.
Yeah. So in the article, they look at more specifically database requests and compare that with the N2 HiMem 16 compute as well. And then look at what is the level of improvements based on that.
Yeah. In fact, if you link back to the article in April when they first were released, they do give you some numbers on that. And they say with an industry-leading 6 million 100% random read and 6 million write ops per second. They're quite fast.
Very fast, actually.
Yeah, very fast. So they're the ones to go for if you have some high IOPS demand workloads.
Do they list out how much these costs? I wouldn't guess they would be cheap at all.
Oh, you can go to the calculator and have a look. All right, so let's say we're going for one instance. We're going to have it running all month, 730 hours per month. Pretty standard setup. And we're just going with a regular provision model. We want storage optimized Z3. Now we can go for Z3 High 88, which gives you 88 vCPUs and 704 gigs of RAM. Or you can go for Z3 HiMem 176, which gives you 176 vCPUs and 1,408 gigabyte of RAM, so 1.5 TB. Let's go with a small one there, the High Z88. You go standard disk, SSD persistence or balance disk. Well, we're going for throughput, so let's go for SSD persistence. And let's just run it in IOU Essential because, that's typically going to be the cheapest anyway. $9,493 per month for one instance. That's US. Yeah. Now, I'm just going to kick it up to Aussie dollars, and we're going to see if we can get one in Australia Southeast 1. They're not available in Australia Southeast 1. The closest to us would be Asia Southeast 1, and that goes up to 17,000 Australian per month.
Oh, that is not cheap.
So you're not running a WordPress site off that bad boy.
Yeah. But equally, if you have a use case for that, then...
Sure.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, if the business dictates it, then absolutely. All right, then. On that bombshell, let's move on. Understanding new cloud story hierarchical namespace. Now, I have to admit, I read this a couple of times. It wasn't very clear to me, and it's still not really clear to me. I'm hoping you got a little bit more of an understanding. But this is a new feature in GCS, bringing file system optimizations to cloud storage with hierarchical namespace.
Yeah, it was a very interesting read. I think what they're trying to do makes sense. They're trying to have cloud storage as your traditional, in a similar way, structurally, as your traditional file system, which has never been the case. So, for example, folders, while you still have folders in cloud storage, they're not really folders, if that makes sense. So, for example,
it's more of a prefix on the file name, right, rather than a folder per se. Yeah,
correct. So, for example, if I'm deleting, if I want to move a file from folder B to folder A, what happens under the hood for in cloud storage is your file gets moved from folder B to folder A, and then gets deleted. The folder B file gets deleted, right? So That's what happens under
or
the hood.
The file with the B prefix gets deleted.
Correct.
So it gets copied to a file with an A prefix, and the file with the B prefix gets deleted. You know what this? I did grok that, but you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the old DOS days when there was no rename directory command, right? And you had to. The actual DOS manual had. Oh, if you want to rename a directory, create a new directory, copy all the files into it, and then delete the old one.
Yeah. I got to admit, I didn't use DOS all that much.
Oh boy.
But yeah, that's the biggest change now, where it's gone to this traditional file hierarchical model. So if you are to now move in this new world, you can just move without that whole delete process. So the article names some key use cases with this new hierarchical structure. One being Hadoop-based processing, because it traditionally expects a file system storage structure and time-based file portioning. So Hadoop-based systems now integrates with Cloud Storage Connector. HNS integrates with Cloud Storage Connector for Hadoop workloads to provide enhanced throughput and atomic folder renames for data processing pipelines. So you can see, that renaming and moving files and moving data is quite important in data processing pipelines.
Yep.
Another use case they list, unsurprisingly, is around AI and ML processing tools like TensorFlow, Pandas, JAX, and PyTorch, because they often expect file-like semantics. So using HNS can enhance performance and reliability for use cases for ML model iteration.
Right. And they specifically called out Fuse, Cloud File Storage Fuse there. And in my way of thinking, that would be much quicker and much more reliable, because the API now provides those create folder, delete folder, get folder URIs, and you've got those in your API calls now. Whereas before, those actions would have been simulated effectively by, some looping in some code under the hood to make it look like you were working with a directory. Right. And of course, the more you're doing that, it just slows it down, opens up more potential for failure.
Yeah, 100%. So it's more making it a traditional file management system, so that you probably don't have to look into things like NFS servers or the likes if you are doing some kind of file processing. It just, in my mind, it just makes cloud storage more versatile and can be used for a broader set of use cases.
Right, and this is going to be cheaper than file store or NFS, right?
Absolutely, because you don't have to run a server again.
Because it's object, it's object storage. A couple of caveats though. HNS must be enabled when you create the bucket. It does not support certain cloud storage features, including object versioning, bucket lock, object retention lock, and object ACL. And I'm going to suggest that that's for now. I would say that they're seriously thinking about bringing those features in. And HNS is currently accessible only via CLI and the supported client libraries, which kind of makes sense because that's how you're going to use it, right? You're going to use some Python library or some Go library to access it. The Cloud Storage Connector for Hadoop Spark workloads and Cloud Storage Fuse, which we already mentioned. UI support is planned for later during the preview. With one other caveat around the costs, that we mentioned the cost before, a GA, there will be additional charges for buckets. Now, I imagine it will land somewhere between block storage and object storage pricing. It won't be as expensive as block storage because you're not getting a full disk allocated, but there will be a slight price increase for this feature.
Yeah, and one of my favorite sayings in cloud is there's no free lunch. You're getting features you're getting file-like feature, you're going to have to pay a little bit more, right? So
Yeah. That's still bugger all though, right? At the end of the day.
Correct.
Yeah. Cool. All right, well, let's move on. Another story here. This one is free, right? Well, free for a period of time anyway. Announcing AlloyDB free trial clusters. Now, if you're not aware of AlloyDB, we have mentioned it in the show before, it's a 100% PostgreSQL compatible database that has a whole bunch of new features around better performance, better availability, infinitely scalable, and new innovative features, and good stuff for AI and Gen AI, vector searching and things like that. Google now is offering it free for 30 days for you to try out.
Yeah, so Google also has a lot of guided tutorials in the AlloyDB console that walk you through creating database, loading your data, and running sample queries. And what this article says is virtually every AlloyDB feature is available for free trial, which is great because you can actually, kind of figure out what is the use cases you want to try to use in AlloyDB cluster. Also, another thing that is called out is that you don't need to be a new Google Cloud customer to use AlloyDB free trial clusters. Most accounts who haven't used AlloyDB before are eligible. So even if you have a Google Cloud, if you already have a Google Cloud environment but don't have AlloyDB and just kind of want to try it out, see if that actually makes your application faster or solves your use case, this is the perfect time to try, right? And I'm going to hedge a bet here because Google are doing this because it's not cheap to run otherwise.
No, that's right. You can spin up an instance of this in a project that's not had it before. So even if the billing account has had a free instance against it, doesn't matter. It's per project. Even if you're within your $300 credit on your billing account, you can spin one up and it won't deduct from that $300 credit. So it's completely separate to that credit. You can run it for 30 days and then after that, the database will shut down, but the data will remain there for another 15 days if you need to recover it. That's a pretty good deal, I thought.
Yeah, very good deal. It's Google telling everyone, give it a try. It may be expensive, but you don't know how good things are until you try it, right?
Yeah, that's right. And for that, you get 8 vCPUs, and this is probably why it costs a little bit more, right? 8 vCPUs and 64 gig of RAM and 1 terabyte of regional storage, which, that's a decent database.
Yeah, and I can imagine, your application developers, database admins, even established business and startups and, ML and data scientists as well make, quite great use cases for those sectors to give this a spin.
Absolutely. All right, link in the show notes. There's a little video in there as well. You can go and have a look at that and see what it's all about. But sounds like a good deal if you want to give it a try. All right, moving on. Couple of industry/legal stories. That's enough for the features for now. And this one's a little bit depressing. We talked about power on the show a few weeks ago and came across this story about Google and Microsoft, how much power they actually really consume. And this one talks about that Google and Microsoft combined consume more power than over 100 nations on the list of top power consumers. So combined, they consume 24 terawatt hours of electricity, surpassing the consumption of over 100 nations, including places like Iceland, Ghana, Tunisia, according to this analysis by Michael Thomas. This is a story on Tom's Hardware. I'll link in the show notes. But this really puts into perspective how much they chew.
Yeah, it really highlights the massive energy requirements of these, servers and data centers that, big Googles and Amazons and Microsofts have. But this article does look at comparison between the revenue generated by Google and Microsoft and also the revenue generated by the economy. Yeah,
those
so
countries.
that's that.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting way to look at it, right?
Yeah, 100%. So Google generated $305 billion in revenue, while its economic impact, including tools like Google Search, Google Cloud, and YouTube, contributed approximately, look at this number, $739 billion to the economy. I mean, this is number from Google itself, so take that with a grain of salt. More around, not around the revenue, but around the dollars contributed towards the economy. Microsoft posted a revenue of $211.9 billion for 2023. Now, comparing that to countries with the same energy consumption, Azerbaijan's GDP was around $78 billion. Slovakia's GDP.
Slovakia.
Yeah, can't read. Slovakia's GDP was around $127 billion, and Iceland's GDP was approximately $30 billion. I'm going to be honest, I'm not surprised by these numbers, given Google and Microsoft are for-profit tech companies, and we're comparing the GDP of countries, of a wide country, versus the revenue produced by a tech company that is designed to make profit. So I'm not surprised with these comparisons, but yeah, it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, but it's not all bad, right? They're not just sucking the power down and then pumping out the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. They are trying, at least, to become carbon neutral and make some contribution to that. This article mentions that, and we know that Google's been a pioneer in using renewable energy, right? So you're able to pick your green data center or your carbon neutral data centers when you spin up an instance, right? Or you design, you architect your solution to put it in an area that's got carbon neutral and renewable, uses renewable energies. And Google has been operating carbon neutral since 2007 and aims to operate 24/7 carbon free by 2030. Interesting target there. Microsoft are similar. I can imagine Bill Gates is behind some of this because he's a big advocate of this. It's committed to becoming carbon negative by 2030. Now that's interesting. Means it aims to remove more carbon from the environment than it emits. And they're also targeting zero waste production and positive water usage by the same year. So they're using a lot of power, but at the same time, they're actually at the forefront of, they're the vanguards of this idea of, trying to use less power across the board and pollute the environment less.
Yeah. AI, technology, cloud is the reality of the modern world. So these consumptions, while very big, are, in my mind, unavoidable given the world we live in, right? The best these companies can do is be more sustainable, and which is exactly what they're trying to do.
Yeah, they do have a vested interest in it, right? Like they can't just keep sucking power out of the grids and hope that they're going to continue to have power available. A point in time is going to come where it's going to be regulated. Governments or someone's going to say, no, you can't have any more. You've got too much. We simply can't provide you anymore. Or they have to show that they're, trying to save power or maybe produce their own power. We've had that discussion before on the show. The pointy end of that is not far off, I would imagine. Yeah, it's certainly a fascinating subject, and anything like that comes up, then we'll definitely be discussing it on the show. But in the meantime, behind closed doors, Google, little sneaky buggers, have tried to pay off. I had to read this a few times just to track what was going on in this. They've tried to pay off a company to continue their anti-competitive suit against Microsoft. Is that right? Is that what they tried to do?
That is my understanding too, yeah.
Here's a story on ARS Technica. Google's $500 million effort to wreck Microsoft EU's cloud deal failed, report says.
Yeah, so Google reportedly tried to derail a Microsoft antitrust settlement over anti-competitive software licensing in the European Union by offering $500 million alternative deal to the group of cloud providers behind the EU complaint. So almost like going behind Microsoft's back to offer something to the EU complaint.
Yeah. Just keep this complaint going for us. We like it. We want to see Microsoft in court a little bit more. So the organisation was the Cloud Infrastructure Service Providers in Europe, CISPE. Apparently, Google sought to sway CISPE with a package worth nearly $500 million for more than 5 years of software licenses and about $15 million in cash. But the CISPE did not take the bait, announcing last week that an agreement was reached with Microsoft, seemingly frustrating Google. So they've ended up settling out of court with Microsoft despite the offer on the table from Google. Now, we don't know what the offer from Microsoft was to, the hush money payment from Microsoft was. We've got to be careful using that term. That's loaded at the moment. But an inside source told Reuters that it was about $22 million, which I don't know. I mean, if this $500 million offer was on the table from Google, why would you take a $22 million offer? Unless it was the cash, I don't know.
Yeah, hearsay. I don't know. It's just, the article is a little bit speculative at point as well. So take it with a grain of salt. Is what I'd say.
You take it with a grain of salt, yeah. But this is just one we've heard about. This sort of stuff must go on all the time. That's my thinking. It's certainly a funny situation.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the revenue that they generate, when we talked about in the last article, the amounts discussed here are drop in the ocean, right?
Chicken feed, yeah, that's right. I'll try anything on, throw a few bucks
Google
at it,
did say that they are still exploring their options to continue to fight against Microsoft's anti-competitive licensing in order to promote choice, innovation, and the growth of digital economy in Europe, was the official statement in Google.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that what form that takes, right? Are we going to see deals? Imagine this. Imagine a deal between Microsoft and Google Cloud to offer Office 365 on Google Cloud. I mean, similar to the deal between Google and Oracle, right? To offer Oracle on Google Cloud.
I can't see it happening. Office 365 in Google Cloud.
No way.
That just sounds wrong to me.
Sullied. I got to wash my hands now after that one. All right, cool. Should we do it? Should we get on with the AI wars? All right, a couple of quick ones from the AI wars this week. OpenAI found themselves in a data breach. So many layers to unpack here. We've got AI and a data breach in one article. I mean, have we reached the Holy Trinity? Article here on IT News: OpenAI's internal AI details stolen in a 2023 breach. A hacker gained access to the internal messaging system at OpenAI last year and stole details about the design of the company's artificial intelligence technology. The hacker lifted details from discussions in an online forum where employees talked about OpenAI's largest technologies, the report said, citing two people familiar with the incident. So it sounds like they've got access to like their Teams or their chat or whatever, and they've just screenshot a bunch of things out of there.
Yeah, and what made me chuckle in this article was the fact that executives at OpenAI informed the employees at the company's all hands meeting in April last year, and also informed to the board as they should. But the executives decided not to share the news publicly, as no information about customers or partners had been stolen. Now, reading further into the article, OpenAI executives did not consider this incident a national security threat, believing the hacker was a private individual with no known ties to foreign government. Right? So the company, OpenAI, only told internally, but did not tell the public, nor did it tell the government, which I find, I don't know.
I thought there were rules around reporting these kinds of things.
Yeah, especially when you're a company of that size, right? With
that magnitude, yeah.
With the amount of data that they have and the level of impact that they have and the number of users that they have, no matter what the breach is, I think from my perspective, it's just ethical to make people aware of what has happened to their systems.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's much to say on this article other than they everyone is susceptible to this kind of thing and just got to look out for it. The Biden administration was poised to open up a new front with its efforts to safeguard the US AI technology from China and Russia, with preliminary plans to place guardrails around the most advanced AI models, including ChatGPT. So that's the real concern, I guess, here. If some rogue states get a hold of this technology, and who's to say they haven't already, and do nefarious things with it, then we could all be in a world of hurt. And then moving on to our last one. Now, this is a cool use case for AI, I thought. IAG builds a tool with Google to check insurance claims. Of course, what IAG are finding now is fraudulent images, because, you've got these apps on your phone, you take a photo of your car, or you take a photo of your claim, and you upload it. But, of course, the potential exists there for those photos to be fraudulent. Not only could you harvest something that already exists off the internet, but now quite easily with AI, you could generate a fraudulent image. I mean, I think that the days of sending out assessors to look at for simple, low value claims, they're not sending out an assessor to look at it. They've got to just go on the evidence that you've posted with your photo. So what they've created is a tool to check the photo, to see an AI tool to check if the photo has been generated by AI. These are truly AI wars.
Yeah, and I can probably see tools like these becoming more and more common as AI and Gen AI use cases grow. So think at not just this, but think at an education setting like plagiarism checker. Probably some kind of tool is in the works to check whether a text or a paragraph or an essay is generated by AI, or is it an original article written by a student, for example. So definitely you can see tools like these becoming more and more common as we see Gen AI, things like ChatGPT, Gemini being widely adopted across all verticals and by everyone, including professionals, students, teachers, everyone.
Yep. It wouldn't be hard, to bake that in, and we've discussed this on the show before, bake that into something like your Adobe PDF reader, right, or into Google Docs, and it just highlights a section to say, potentially there's a possibility that this paragraph's been generated by AI, right? It just highlights it. AI music's another big area as well. There's tools like Udio where you can just go and put a prompt in and it creates a song, Right now, who's to say that I just couldn't generate 1,000 songs, upload them all to Spotify, and start getting streams on them? It's kind of disingenuous, but if you like the music, then you like the music, right? It doesn't really matter. But I don't think that's what platforms like that want to have on there. They want music generated by people. So they need some sort of tool to identify that as well.
Yeah, 100%. And from just going back to this article, completely valid use case from an insurance company perspective, because how would they know whether this image is real or not? Or how would you know that image was taken at a certain point where the accident happened? Or how would they know if this image hasn't already been used in a previous claim, or just downloaded off the internet, even worse, or created through some Gen AI tool? So definitely see how this can really, really add value to a business.
Yep. And, the more fraudulent claims there are, the more our insurance premiums go up. So I'm all for it. 100%. I'm all for it. It kind of begs the question too, like where are we going to be with, court cases, for instance? At the moment, photographs and video evidence are submissible. And it's funny to think there was a period in time where that photographs and video evidence was not submissible as evidence in court cases. We could potentially go back to those times, right? It's funny to think that.
Yeah. If you start thinking about the wider implications, I think you can really get into so many sectors. Like you said,
you go down a spiral.
Yeah, you would go down a spiral indeed.
Yeah, so that's a good one. I think we're going to definitely see more stuff like that, and we're going to have to. We're just going to have to. Period. All right, cool. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this fortnight. That's been a great show. We overcome a few technical hurdles, and you're in Hobart, so I hope you're having a good time there, Dish.
Yeah, it's a bit cloudy. It's been a bit cloudy, a bit rainy, a bit windy, as you would expect in Hobart. But yeah, the show wasn't without a few hiccups today. But glad we got to the end. Probably a slightly shorter show as well today, not the usual 1 hour, I'd imagine.
It'll be close. Don't forget, you can write us a review on iTunes. Go and do that. It'll really help the show out. You can go to YouTube and find us there. Just search for GCP Life. Start the conversation there and smash that like button while you're there. You can contact the show, GCPLife, at mantlegroup.com.au. And don't forget, today's show is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. I've been your host, Stephen Bancroft, and the co-host here with me today is Adish Panther. That's about it for us. Anything else from you, mates?
Nothing much.
All right, then. We'll catch you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Sorry, my laptop or internet, something is broken. Couldn't hear a lot of stuff you said. Sorry. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll rejoin, or should I not?
Yeah. Keep the recording going.
Yeah.
And drop off and rejoin.
Okay.
Yep.